Long ago, in the heart of the ancient Benin Kingdom, a time came when the earth throbbed with the echoes of power and pride. In the lush, fertile town of Udo, west of the Benin city walls, there was born a prince unlike any other. His name was Aruan, later called Aruan of Udo, a child of royal blood, but marked by the gods with a strength and stature that stunned all who beheld him. This town was full of strong people, tall palm trees, clever monkeys, and wise old chiefs. But one day, something happened that would change Udo, and the whole kingdom, forever. That was the day a baby was born. But not just any baby. This was the biggest baby anyone had ever seen. His mother, a beautiful woman with bright eyes and gentle hands, was a royal wife of the Oba, king of Benin. She had traveled to her hometown of Udo for rest, but the baby came early, on a night when the moon glowed red and the forest birds fell silent. When the midwives saw the baby, they gasped. "He's as heavy as a yam sack," one cried. "His arms are as thick as a hunter's bow," said another. "And look, his eyes are open," whispered the eldest midwife. "He is watching us already, like he knows everything." But the strangest thing of all, he did not cry. Not a sound. Most babies cry the moment they are born. They scream, they squirm, they let the world know they are here. But not this child. He stared at the sky as if he'd seen it before. He looked at the trees, the faces, the stars, and then he gave a small nod. Just once. As if to say, "Yes. I remember this place." The midwives were puzzled. They pinched him gently. They tickled his feet. Still nothing. "He is not a normal child," one of them said nervously. But his mother was not afraid. She looked into her son's eyes and smiled. "I shall call you Aruan," she whispered. "For you are bold, and the sky is not new to you." The growing giant. As Aruan grew, so did the legends. At just 3 years old, he could lift a peso twice his height. At 5, he chased wild goats across rocky hills. And by the time he was 10, he was as tall as a palm tree and could sweep the village with a single branch. When he swept, he didn't use a broom like everyone else. No, Aruan would break off a whole palm frond, wave it once across the ground, and whoosh, the whole village would be clean. Children would follow behind him, laughing and singing. "Sweep, sweep, Aruan sweep. He makes the dust and dirt all weep." With one big whoosh and one loud song. Aruan sweep is clean and strong. But still, people remembered, Aruan never cried, not even once. When Aruan was a teenager, something magical happened. Everyone in Udo cheered. From birth, Aruan was enormous. As a toddler, he could already lift logs that seasoned warriors used for firewood. As a boy, he outpaced horses and ran with the gazelles through the forest. By the time he reached manhood, he stood taller than any tree in the village square. His voice thundered like a war drum, and his laughter shook the rafters of the palace halls. Aruan would rise at dawn, pick a fallen frond from the sacred palm tree, and sweep from the great riverbank all the way to the temple gates of Udo in one majestic motion. The dust would rise like a whirlwind and settle as if it feared his wrath. Children followed in his wake, dancing in awe, calling him Aruan the Mighty. But Aruan's heart was not merely a warrior's, it was filled with longing, with ambition, and with the fire of destiny. He was one of the sons of the Oba, king of Benin, born to a mother from Udo, a rival city in its own right. When the time came for a new Oba to be chosen, Aruan believed it was his right to rule. His strength, his wisdom, and his noble lineage, what more could the gods desire? When Aruan was a teenager, something magical happened. The royal drummers came from Benin City, beating their great talking drums. These drums didn't just make music. They spoke, sending messages far and wide. "The Oba is growing old," the drum said. "A new prince must be chosen to rule the kingdom." Everyone in Udo cheered. "This is it," said the elders. "Surely Aruan will be chosen. He is brave. He is strong. He never even cried." So Aruan walked proudly to the great palace in Benin. He stood tall among his brothers and cousins, his head brushing the palace rafters, yet when the oracle was consulted and the Igbasamwan, royal priests, cast their divinations, it was his half-brother who was chosen. This brother, smaller, quieter, and born of a mother from Benin City itself, became Oba Eseji. The throne was taken, not by strength, but by politics and prophecy. Aruan's heart turned cold. He was humiliated, not by defeat in battle, but by being outmaneuvered in peace. In bitterness, he withdrew to Udo, swearing never to bow before a brother he considered unworthy. But Udo was not just a place to hide. It became a fortress, a rival capital. There, Aruan began to gather followers, warriors, hunters, blacksmiths, and spirit charmers, people loyal to him, not to Benin. They revered him as a semi-divine ruler, calling him Ogi Udo, the king of Udo. After the Oba of Benin chose another prince to sit on the throne, Aruan felt his heart become heavy like a rain cloud. He walked all the way from the palace back to Udo, not with sadness, but with silent anger. Each step he took shook the ground. Boom. 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 The trees trembled. The birds flew away. The frogs in the swamp stopped croaking. When Aruan reached Udo, he went straight to the hills overlooking the land. He looked out at the green valleys, the farmlands, the rivers, and then he did something no one expected. He raised his head to the sky and shouted, "Let the land remember my steps. Let the earth feel my power." Then Aruan stamped his mighty foot into the red soil of Udo. Thum. The ground cracked. He stamped again. Thum. The land shivered like a frightened animal. Then he took a giant leap, a step so big that one foot landed on one side of the hill, and the other landed on the other side. And just like that. Crack. The ground split open. A long, wide gorge tore through the land, filled with bubbling water from deep underground. The earth cried out, and the people ran in fear. Where there had been only hills and forest, now there was a river, wild and new. The river flowed fast and wide, and it became impossible to cross without a boat. From that day on, the town of Udo was divided into two. Udo Nagbon, the land on one side of the river. Udo Negbio, the land on the other side. Aruan began to gather followers, warriors, hunters, blacksmiths, and spirit charmers, people loyal to him, not to Benin. They revered him as a semi-divine ruler, calling him Ogi Udo, the king of Udo. With time, Aruan began to plot war. He challenged the authority of Oba Eseji, and tensions rose like a flood. Rumors spread that Aruan could not be killed by mortal means, that he had swallowed charms of immortality, bathed in the river of spirits, and could vanish into trees. When war finally came, it was cataclysmic. Aruan led his army to the gates of Benin. His warriors, carrying massive cudgels and war charms, fought with fury. Aruan himself swept through enemy lines with palm trees in both hands, hurling men and horses alike like dolls. No one could stand before him. But Oba Eseji was wise. He did not face Aruan head-on. Instead, he turned to the spiritual realm. He called upon the kingdom's most powerful priests, who summoned magical forces from the realm of ancestors. They created an illusion, an enchanted army of shadows that deceived Aruan and his men. In the confusion, Eseji's forces struck. Realizing the battle was lost and betrayal was near, Aruan did not flee in fear. He stood tall and bellowed a command to his horse, a magical creature said to be part spirit, part steel, and sent it galloping into the great lake of Udo. Then Aruan walked to the edge of the lake, tore open his chest to reveal a charm, and disappeared into the waters. The people named the river after Aruan and believed his spirit lived inside its waters. They said, "This river is his anger and his wisdom. It protects us, but it reminds us of his strength." Children were told not to swim across it. Elders poured palm wine on its banks to show respect. And sometimes, if you stood near the river at dusk, you could hear a faint voice in the wind saying, "I did not fight with fists, I fought with my footsteps." Even the fish in the river were said to carry his spirit, strong, silent, and swift. And so the story lives on. Aruan, the prince who never cried. The boy who swept towns with palm fronds. The man whose feet split the land in two. And now, whenever a thunderstorm shakes the hills of Udo, the elders smile and say, "Aruan is walking again."